Hey, welcome back to Trek Chat, a podcast brought to you by Trek on the Tube. I am your usual host, Sean, although today I might go by the name Toddy because we have another Sean joining us today, Sean Ferrick, over from the channel Trek Culture. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry that I've stolen your name.
How dare you? I mean, okay, like my name, from what I see, isn't spelt exactly the same in the sense that I don't have an accent on the E.
Oh, okay.
But it is still Irish because it was influenced by Sean Connery, which I think
Oh,
is
you were named after Sean Connery.
I
I didn't
was
realize
named after
that.
Sean Connery, but I was so that's the Scottish thing. But I was also named after Sean, which was an Irish boss living in London of my mother. Our second guest is the good old Starfleet boy. How you doing?
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much for joining us. Anyway, to continue my little story here, yes, I am named Sean, but you have more claim to it because you are actually Irish from Ireland. I am not.
That's all right. But like much like everything, we love sharing everything we do. So that's great. We can all be Sean. So Hal, do you want to be a Sean as well?
I'd love it. Oh my gosh, it's been
Everyone.
a dream of mine to be a Sean. So.
Excellent.
But I might want to be a Killian more. I like the name Killian. It's a really
Oh,
cool
that is a
name.
lovely name.
Well, somewhere out there on the multiverse, you are a Sean.
Yes, that's right.
Then that means this is like Spider-Man into the multiverse into was No Way Home rather. We're all three Seans now.
Exactly.
Now I want to see if we could find a way of recreating the photo where we're all pointing at each other.
But, sorry to sidebar, but that was brilliant that they released an actual photo of that so that people that's going to fully replace the meme, the old meme, the animated meme, which is cool.
Oh, come on. The old meme has like a special place in our hearts. I think.
It's true. It's true.
But yes, I know
the
what you
new
mean.
meme's pretty badass, though. You know, it's like that other meme of the guy looking at the new thing with the old thing, and like with the two girls or whatever, and you put like the name of the old thing and the new thing. I love that.
I'm astonished I managed to understand what you were describing. That was like the worst description of a meme I've ever heard, but it worked. I know what you're talking about.
I love that you're astonished.
All right, today we are talking about time travel, or maybe I guess temporal anomalies, or however whatever you want to dive into. We're talking about that because it has always been a big part of Star Trek and science fiction in general. My opinion is that I'm kind of over it at this point, but maybe that's not an opinion that's shared, so you guys can dive into that. That's it. I think maybe we can do a bit of speculation for maybe like
Picard season 2.
Prodigy and Picard season 2.
Sorry.
This isn't too much of like a theory crafting or speculation podcast, but I think that in this particular case, maybe it would be interesting to do that. So time travel. Does anyone have any like opening thoughts or something
I
they
have
want
a quick opening thought. Time travel, Star Trek invented it basically, and now everyone uses it. So everyone's tired of it, but I think it's still spectacular, and I think Star Trek does it the best after Doctor Who. Sorry, Doctor Who invented time travel, I know, but Star Trek still invented it. There you go.
Doctor Who has them beat by 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I just thought about. But still, for its type of show, I think Star Trek still does time travel the best of any other science fiction show that's not dedicated to time travel.
One of the things I love the way Star Trek handles it is that sometimes they tie themselves up in knots over how they handle time travel and how we get to where we're going. And other times, particularly in the original series, they're just like, "Oh, what? Yeah, no, we're just back. It's last Tuesday now."
They did do that.
Like, what?
It was like casual. It was like no big deal in the original series, and then later it's like, oh my god, you have to do all these crazy things.
When I started doing my reviews for the original series, and this is like within the first 5 episodes, there's an episode where something happens on a planet and then they just hit full reverse, and then they literally time travel back 3 days by hitting full reverse, by leaving the planet, but it's not even part of the plot. It's just like it's in the 2 last minutes of the episode.
Which episode is that? I know what you're talking about, but it's like
I forget which episode it is, but it's like it's so unimportant to them that they were like, they just added a little. Oh well, we we erased everything that happened on the planet because we reversed for 3 days. It's like, how anyway? How is
Off
this
the top
not?
of your oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's like, how is it this not important? Time travel is a huge thing.
It's a huge deal, yeah. Off the top of your heads, what are the best like time travel episodes in all the different series? I would say for TOS, it's got to be City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh, fair,
Has to
yeah.
be the best one, yeah.
Um,
And then
Well,
the
that's the
TNG only
classic.
have Yesterday's Enterprise. Does that count as time travel, or is that's more like dimensional actually? And then Time Zero, Part 1 and 2. Were there any other time travel ones in TNG?
Well,
all good things.
Yeah, all good things. So,
Oh, duh.
which is your favorite episode of Star Trek?
It's my favorite episode. I didn't think of it as time travel, but you're absolutely right. He's hopping around time. So yeah, it's not like as I always felt like for some reason having Q involved always makes me by default think it's an illusion.
Well, that's because like
true.
when you enter the realm of like Tapestry, it's not really time travel, I guess, and
Mm.
things like what is it, like A Matter of Time? Oh no, is it Cause and Effect?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's time shenanigans, though.
That's time
definitely.
shenanigans more than
Yeah,
it is
that-
like actual time travel, right? I'm very partial to like Time Zero, like because I don't know why, I just like
I like
hid
that
in a
episode
cave.
too. It's mainly because of Guinan and
Yeah.
and
She's
Samuel
brilliant,
Clemens.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like really great.
I actually only rewatched that one recently. It's just fun. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it's like they try and put some stakes on it, but really it's zero stakes game. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's just an excuse to see Riker dressed up as an old policeman, and you know, kind of, you know, any excuse to take Geordie's visor off him. You know, the poor man.
I will give the episode the fact that it was very creative. Like I think that the aliens that are living in like the same, I guess, space but in another dimension, that were like sucking the life force out of people. I find that interesting. It could almost be like a horror story. They could have made it, you know, like dark and gloomy and almost like a horror thing.
Right.
But they went comedy, you know.
You're right though, because there's that like that incredibly dark moment in the two episodes where the I think he's the old 49er, the
Oh yeah,
homeless
could
man
you
on the
help
street.
out
in the back
Could
alley,
you help
yeah.
out an old? That is sad. Oh my god, it's super dark.
Yeah, and he's just like, no. It's like, okay, Star Trek, all right, steady on. We were having fun here.
And then after that, DS9, I can only remember Trouble with Tribbles for now.
Oh,
Not
past
Trouble
tense.
with Tribbles, sorry.
It's Trials and Tribulations.
Trials and
But there's the
Tribulations.
Visitor. Does the Visitor count as full-on time travel?
It's a
Oh yeah,
good
I guess
question,
so.
actually.
I think that one did count, sort of, even though that timeline gets collapsed or erased or whatever.
So there's past tense because I only just watched it the other night.
That's the one where they go back to the previous empire. When it was still under Cardassian occupation, right?
That's things past. Past tense is where they go back to the 21st century.
Oh, okay. Yes, no. Now I know which one you're talking about. That's a fun one too. The Bell Riots.
That's it,
Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
There's that episode where O'Brien is like jumping through time or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, not Whisper, Visionary.
Yeah, that's it.
And we have as well.
And at the end of the episode, he's literally replaced by himself from a couple days in the future, isn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, like that'd be
O'Brien
good. Trying to keep
changes.
track. Yeah, trying to keep track of who's actually the original version of themselves from like the pilots of any of the series.
'Cause Kim
Harry
isn't.
Kim, obviously, as well over on Voyager. He's not the original one that was
Oh,
in
and
Caretaker.
Naomi. Naomi isn't the original.
That's true. Actually, we could have left her on that Voyager. Now, to be honest with you.
Oh my god. She was a baby at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Listen. You know, you'd be grand.
My god.
And then what else did Voyager do? They did a lot of time travel,
Okay,
right?
well,
I feel like
no, well,
Voyager does.
Yeah, Voyager has the whole story there with Anoraks.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Year of Hell. God, that was good.
Yeah.
What is it? We missed it. We missed a good one from DS9. Little Green Men.
Oh yeah, that is a
Mm.
really good one. That is an excellent one. Wow. Okay, there's a lot more time travel than I thought.
And Endgame is a time travel thing.
Yeah,
with,
100%.
Finale's a time travel related because I mean, although technically the Enterprise finale isn't really time travel, they also have fun with like, I guess, different times.
Does Enterprise's carbon creek?
No,
No, because it's not
just,
time travel. It's like storytelling.
It's storytelling. Because
Did
they didn't go
Enterprise
back
do
in
time
time.
travel?
They didn't go back in time back
On
then.
Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
Except
Yeah,
for Riker, who was watching the whole thing.
Enterprise has a running. Enterprise does time travel all the
That's great.
time
Because the Cold War.
They have the typical Cold
Oh
War.
yeah.
And they've got like
how can I forget that?
what's his name?
It's the Cold War.
The man. Yeah.
Not Roberts. What is it?
No, but you're talking
Daniels.
about Daniels.
Daniels.
But I'm talking about the invisible guy, the man that's
the
probably
man,
Archer.
Future Man, which we don't know.
Future
we think
Man,
it's Archer, or who knows? Who knows who it could be? It's Kovich.
Future Man is the diviner.
Oh, he could be the diviner. Yeah, it's true. So that's
I feel right with that.
So that's the time travel in the past eras. In the new era, we do time travel a little bit.
A little bit?
Not like, yeah, because Discovery jumps 9 months into the future when it comes back.
Oh, that's true.
And then it jumps 900 years into the future.
Yeah, Discovery does a lot of it. There's like a whole second season based around a time-traveling Red Angel there.
That's true. Forget
true.
it. Yeah. So, yeah, the whole season. Yeah, so Enterprise really... I mean, sorry, Discovery really went...
The entire Kelvin timeline technically kicks off with time travel.
A temporal incursion.
It creates an incursion, but it is time travel originally.
Yeah. Star Trek is... See, my statement holds true, guys. Star Trek does it so well. It's so nicely integrated.
But to Sean's point, what he was saying earlier is it's interesting because like no one does time travel the same way in Star Trek. Like everyone always tries to like make up these very, I guess, elaborate rules about how time travel works, but no creative team ever comes up with the same set of rules.
Right, we have time crystals. We have we have slingshot around the sun. We have gravity. There's all kinds of ways. Yeah, it's true. We have sometimes how'd they do it on in past tense with the defiant. What was it? It was like a transporter thing, right? Was it transporter?
It was literally a MacGuffin. That's right. They beamed down and there was like, oh whoops, a cloud passed through the like it was so like what?
It's a temporal cloud, boy.
A temporal cloud.
Well, they also had the orb of time in Deep Space Nine that they could use at any given moment.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, there's another one then. Wrong's darker than Death or Night. Kira's mum.
Oh yes.
I have to revisit that one. I don't remember that one very well.
It's she goes back because Ducat messages her on her mum's birthday and says, "Yes, I knew your mum very well." She's like, "Hold on a second, what?" And goes back and says, "All right, so they did know each other quite well." Although I always wondered if that was actually a time travel one or if it's kind of like just an orb experience.
Well, I think the orb actually did it affect anything? No, right?
I don't think so. Then I suppose they kind of keep it. Although you would think that Ducat might recognize Kira then in the future because she's basically tried to kill him.
Yeah.
I suppose everyone tries to kill Ducat though.
Damn
he's just over it. He doesn't recognize people at this point.
Yeah.
Do you think I think that just like the Q orb experiences can be neatly tied up because the orb is so powerful and Q that they don't have like other things you have to undo the damage or whatever, but with beings like, you know, with like entities or with like these like devices that are like these, you know, meant to be like quote unquote godlike, you can actually nice and neatly say, well, none of that actually did anything. So, you know.
Well, it's always very open to interpretation, I think. Like they never explicitly state that this really did happen 100% in the current timeline that we're watching. So you can always just assume, like if you want it to happen, you can, but if you want to, as you say, tie it up there and say, no, it was just like a vision or something that the orb created or something that Q created, you can say that.
Lower Decks has not done a time travel episode yet, right?
It's funny because it seems like the absolute perfect candidate. You know, send Mariner back and suddenly she's Emperor Mariner or something.
That's not true. Really?
I feel like
so
Lower
confused
Decks...
right now.
What happened?
No, how is that possible? How did they not do a time travel story yet?
Well, I know. I
know.
feel like they're gonna save it. Like they're gonna do an epic one now. I feel like that's here. Mike McMahon, if you're listening to this,
Maybe-
And we know you are.
maybe he's over it. Maybe he's over like time travel in Star Trek. So because he's done a few, he did a big time travel story in Solar Opposites.
I've not seen much of that yet.
Yeah,
I've seen
neither
a bit
have
of
I.
it. Yeah.
Okay, you guys should watch that. And then in Rick and Morty, of course, like he's got the Rick and Morty pedigree, and there's time travel shenanigans happening in that all the time.
Of course, yeah. I love as well. Actually, funny you should say it because I love how anti-time travel a lot of Rick and Morty is. Like they go out of the way to be like, I remember this one where he walks through a portal and walks back a second later with like pizzas, and he goes, "I didn't travel in time; they were just waiting for me." And that's it. That's the end of the episode. It's like, all right, okay.
I feel like the perfect time travel episode will be Lower Decks. They have that unique position to like where we can forgive just about anything because it's a comedy, a comedy series, so they can just go all crazy if they want to, and I think they will. I think that's gonna happen for sure.
I think we know obviously that there's time travel in Prodigy. It's just really confusing as to where things are. So, like the Protostar landed on the planet 17 years before they find it, which puts it in about TNG season 3. And certain
And-
people were on that ship.
Like Chakotay.
I was just like, do we go spoilers? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Chakotay was on the ship. Yeah. So but if he was on the ship, how was he also on Voyager? It's confusing. So that they're going to have to be, big time travel story or explanation coming there. And obviously the Diviner is from 50 years in the future?
Yeah, I think that's what they said. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, we'll find out more, but I think that the Chakotay that came back in time was probably from around the same time as like the time traveling Admiral Janeway, right? Because she was like she was doing some time shenanigans. I don't remember. I haven't finished Voyager, but I remember kind of watching Endgame or whatever, and I remember there was like some kind of time traveling older Janeway or something like that. So I think Chakotay is from that time, and I think they're gonna be mixing and matching, or like somehow like things will fall into play with that or something. But who knows? Although Aaron Walkie, I feel like said that the Protostar is not from that far in the future.
Well, that's
so I'm
the
not
thing.
sure. Yeah.
My big question at the moment is because the show, like up until now, the bulk of the show has been happening in 2383. Like that's a confirmed date, which is only a few years after like Lower Decks began, and only a few years after the end of Voyager and the events of Nemesis. And now we're learning that the Diviner is actually from 50 years after that. So I'm wondering if like the bulk of the show going forward will still continue to take place in 2383, or if they'll actually like take it all to 50 years after, and the show will take place 50 years after.
It's a good question because that way they can skip over the events of Picard as well. Otherwise, they're going to run into what's happening there too. And also, I can never remember this. Do we know what year the Romulan star goes nova?
87.
Seán knows
2387.
There you
87. Okay. So obviously,
So
whether
that's
they're
only
going to
4
address
years
that,
after like this current kind of like plop of episodes there in Prodigy. This is the most busiest time in Star Trek, like visual history, I guess. Like
That's
everything
true,
we know
yeah.
about it, everything's happening now. It's the big week, but for Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because God, it's kind of a confusing. Well, not confusing, but just it's busy. It is a busy time period, and also just how many uniforms is Starfleet using at this point?
I have a question for you guys. Which Star Trek show is establishing what you consider the in-world present of Star Trek? Because we have Discovery that's off in the 32nd century. We have Picard, which is taking place also in the future of what we've seen so far. And then we have Lower Decks that takes place, I guess, in the past. And then I guess Prodigy might be the most presently centered show in terms of like...
I see Picard as the present. I don't
Yeah.
know why. Like I couldn't tell you why, but I feel like Discovery started off in the past and I was gone too far in the future, and I feel like Picard is like correctly following, like it's following up like the big event, which is the Romulan supernova. And I feel like Lower Decks and Prodigy, like Prodigy, I don't yet know, I guess, but Lower Decks is kind of just like re-exploring this period that we've seen
Oh
so
yeah, you're
much
right.
of. But I
Because the
feel
Romulan
like,
star. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
Picard
but
would be
I
the
feel
most
like Picard is the
present
present.
tense.
I don't know why I feel that way, but that's yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think you're right. I kind of, if we take the Romulan Nova as maybe the big jumping off point for present, then we have both. Well, because Prodigy is all over the place in terms of what. Okay, yes, it's 2383, but then it's also past, future. Da, 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 da. So Lower Decks is the prequel that we didn't know we were getting.
It's true.
Mm.
The good times before
It's
it went
interesting
nuts.
because Lower Decks, I've said this in my review, but Lower Decks is so good that, like, in 25 or 30 years from now, when people will watch Star Trek, you won't even notice that Lower Decks was a prequel. You know, you won't notice that Lower Decks came out after. It'll just be one of those 90s shows as it came out during the 90s. Maybe not, because it looks too good. But it feels that way. They've managed to make it feel that way, at least.
Yeah, they totally have kind of captured the aesthetic nostalgia. It's not even nostalgia. It's just they've just done the aesthetic so well that it becomes like, oh yeah, it could easily the show fits nicely as a nod to that era.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was like, so many things. Like '90s had like Star Trek. It had Sliders. It had I don't know if you guys ever watched Sliders, but that was a
I've
fun
seen a
show.
bit of it, enough to kind of know vaguely. Is Sliders sort of a take on Quantum Leap, because it's different dimensions. I know.
Yeah, so it's similar. It's similar to Quantum Leap in that the characters are bouncing. Like every episode, they're in a new place, sort of, or a new situation. I would say. But Quantum Leap's interesting because it's Sam Beckett bouncing around through, like he's inhabiting people, right? Whereas Sliders is a group of folks that are able to just hop from universe to universe. And I think it's been a long time since I've seen it, but they're trying to get back to their own universe or something like that. At one point there was like a issue where they couldn't get back to theirs or something, I forget, but I think that was wild, and it was pretty good for back then. For the effects and everything were pretty spot on. And then Stargate, when did that start? That was like more in the 2000s, right?
Because I think that was 90. I'm going to say 97, but I might be
Does Stargate
off
have time travel though, or is it mainly just like
later? You had time travel with Stargate Atlantis.
A bit with Atlantis. There's a couple of episodes, because I know there's the episode 1969, because I love that episode where they go back and you have Teal'c's dressed up, in the flower power thing with that was good crack.
And then you had Babylon 5 in the 90s too. There's so many good shows on. Like, it was another good time period for sci-fi like it is today.
Yeah, actually. And then kind of like there was that period in the early 2000s where, now it's not that there was no sci-fi, there absolutely was, but it didn't seem to be as kind of all at the same time. I mean, I think Battlestar Galactica, which ran 2003 until 2009, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe not that late, but yeah, it's kind of like, but I'm trying to think of what else was on at the time.
And it was kind of, I feel like that's around the time that, at least from my experience and my memory, reality TV started to take over. And I was like, oh, the dark ages of TV. I just turned it all off and I never watched it.
He gave up.
I gave up on TV at that time. But at least for Star Trek, that's around, whenever Enterprise went off the air, that's it for like a long while until
until JJ saved us all.
Yeah, I guess, until Star Trek 2009, and then Star Trek Discovery really, I think, brought back Star Trek in a big way. It's funny to think now, when Star Trek Discovery was announced and it was going to be premiering, and with all the kind of like mixed reactions it was received with, that it really is 5 years later, or however long it is. Is it like 2016 it came out, right?
2017, yeah.
17. Oh, okay.
Remember, we used to call it Star Trek 2017 before it had a name.
That's right. Well, anyways, nice. It's come out, and now it's like now there's 5 series about to be on at the same time.
Yeah.
It's insane. I would never have imagined we'd be here. This has gone from time travel to nostalgia. Sorry, that's what old Starfleet boys do.
That's the closest we can get to time travel.
That's it. Yeah.
Thinking about the past, although that's not really the past. That's like it's just 2017. But yeah, we've been through a lot in that time, especially.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what do you guys think about time travel? Because I'm very much on the like I enjoy, as you call them, time shenanigans. I enjoy the smaller things, the more self-contained, kind of like temporal anomalies or situations that can kind of be resolved or that are self-contained. There's that one Deep Space Nine episode where there's like there's a planet and they all live out their lives on the planet. You know, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I enjoy those. But when it comes to big time travel, kind of like, I guess, timeline altering things, I'm less on board with that. So I don't know about you guys.
I like fish out of water stories. So I think that would be a bit similar to yourself. Like I like, we drop Cisco in LA or San Francisco in 2020s, and kind of have to figure that out. Boom, we got the Bell riots. But then, like, I do like that they moved Discovery, for example, into the 32nd century, because it kind of gets us out of the way of what else is going on in the 2200s. But overall, yeah, I'd kind of like just maybe give us a temporal two-parter. Give us a Year of Hell, or a Time's Arrow, because then it just starts to get a bit confusing. It's like, well, hang on, who's affected who and what and where now?
Yeah, for me, I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of Doctor Who, so time travel is a fun concept for me, and I really enjoy it. That being said, for Star Trek, I could see I could see myself getting fatigued if they do it too much. So I like that Star Trek keeps it to like the occasional two-parter and like a plot device, an overall plot device, like going to the 32nd century or something, and not really like making the show about time travel. That being said, I wouldn't be closed off to it. Like I feel like a Section 31 show or a temporal investigations type of crossover, like that Section 31 show that no one knows what's going to happen with, but it's still happening. It has a lot of possibilities to like bring that element into Star Trek, like it hasn't been done before. I just think with a property like Star Trek, time travel, you have to be very careful, because especially if you're traveling back in its own timeline, you have to like really take a lot of care in recreating that look and aesthetic or feel. So like I feel like Star Trek kind of, other than like Trials and Tribulations, which was genius for the time, I think Star Trek does better to avoid it too much, because you have to kind of like stick to, because now you have the conundrum of when you travel back before TOS, does it look like Discovery or does it look like TOS? Like it's like an added sort of thing. But in general, I think Star Trek handles, again, like I enjoy time travel in Star Trek. I think so far they've done just a great job of maintaining a good kind of continuity, plausibility. They have a good success rate with making it feasible in the overall story. So I really like it. And we didn't even mention Star Trek 4, which is kind of like the biggest.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Time travel.
Well, there's First Contact too, which technically,
and First Contact, yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Generations has the Nexus. That's a bit different. But
yeah, the next is totally different. But yeah, in general, like Star Trek has done time travel a lot now that I'm thinking about it, but they do it in such a way that like it doesn't interfere too much. Enterprise, I think, is the most convoluted we probably got with it, but I guess they kind of hit a little reset button as well.
Well,
Yeah,
I gotta give it to Discovery. They dropped in a few lines about the Temporal Cold War and tried to kind of like, I'm not gonna say they course corrected what Enterprise did, but they at least, I suppose, solidified that something was happening. It was a bit complicated, and it got so complicated that they made laws about it. Yeah,
they made laws.
Yeah. No more time travel. Do you hear?
Stop! Never again.
You got 50 friggin' Janeways from 50 different times in the same room. Would you just stop?
Poor Janeway, she always gets the blame.
I know, but she's looking for those nebulas. There's no more coffee in any nebula.
It's actually Archer. Archer's, I think, more egregious when it comes to violations of time travel.
I'd love, even if say they do it on like one of the animated ones, so maybe Lower Decks, if they just have like an episode totally out of nowhere, it's just temporal investigations, just locking up various versions of each of the captains.
That would be
so sick of this. Like, and then you have like, you get a room, Kirk, you get an entire wing.
That would be so. You know what? An episode. I'm sorry. An episode. You guys remember that Voyager episode where Seven is working for
Relativity?
Yes. So she's switching through times and she's doing all of these things. Having
That's a good episode.
Having that kind of plot, but in a comic way, like, but using Boimler. But like he's kind of unaware of what he's doing every time. He just remembers that why am I on this friggin' mission in a different place in a different time? That would be hilarious.
I think that would be really funny. I think one thing that's interesting, as like a little branch from this time travel thing, I find it very interesting how like Star Trek and the way it does any of these science fiction tropes like time travel or anomalies or whatever, like how it kind of influences the other shows or movies. Like I was thinking the other day about like you know how in WandaVision, did you both see WandaVision?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you know how in WandaVision they established that like Wanda is like a Nexus being, and so like it doesn't matter what dimension she's in, that she's the same person, and she becomes, you know, the Scarlet Witch or whatever in every one of those, and she's like kind of immune to temporal shenanigans, right?
You think this is Guinan related?
No, well, Guinan, but
Ooh, good
also
point.
that's kind of like what Q does for Picard. He creates this in All Good Things, like Picard is the Nexus being, right? He can seamlessly travel between these three different timelines, or four, I forget how many there were, but he can seamlessly travel back and forth through them, and he retains his like identity and his knowledge through each of them. And so I was just thinking, like, that's interesting how like they kind of Star Trek was doing these things first, and then of course people build on it and make it like, you know, their own thing. But like Kevin Feige's a huge Star Trek fan, we know this, and so I
Yeah.
feel like he leans on a lot of the established kind of like rules of time travel in Endgame, in his own Endgame, you know, and stuff like that were already established in Star Trek, like in All Good Things and stuff like that. So
Well, I like how the Russo brothers, like in the script, they make sure to like when they're talking about time travel, they mention like Back to the Future, that kind of stuff, or Terminator.
Mhm.
But they explicitly don't say Star Trek just because it would be like, which time travel are you talking about? It would become too complicated. You'd have to
Yeah.
have 10 minutes of dialogue dedicated to just Star Trek.
I love that. So actually, X-Men Days of Future Past, and they literally have a scene from the original series in the film, which is a time travel episode as well. It's like, the clocks are going backwards. Yes, we understand what time travel is. That's true. Thanks for the cameo.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I'm so tickled for Multiverse of Madness, like hearing Sir Patrick Stewart's voice and knowing that
Oh my god,
Professor X is going to come back.
Oh, well, they
really
asked Sir
exciting.
Patrick Stewart about that, and he said he doesn't know what Doctor Strange is. So
Yeah,
clearly he's not in the film.
of course,
I mean,
of course, yes.
You know, they never lie to us. They always say the truth.
I love it as well. And if you watch it with the subtitles on, it says mystery voice.
Ooh.
It does. That's funny.
That's one of the more uncommon, more like underdog superheroes. Mystery Man.
I
No one knows him yet.
I think the big, this big crossover event that was teased that's coming at some point, that I think it was Alex Kurtzman maybe who teased it, that at some point there would be a crossover event coming up. I think that's going to be 100% utilizing time travel. What do you guys think?
Yes.
No comment on the crossover
no, it's
event.
not that. It's that like am I unaware of certain news, or have I just forgotten this?
I don't know, Sean. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I feel like there was like an interview or something recently, and or where it was said
He's
that
just inventing things now.
That he would love to do a Star Trek crossover event, like within its own, within all these shows. So
I think I might have missed that one.
Okay.
So either the two Seans are just unaware of what's going on, or the third Sean is inventing things here.
Yeah, exactly. I will just give a disclaimer that I read and see so much about Star Trek on a daily basis that it's quite possible that I've made it up and I'm conflating like 3 or 4 different things. So it's not without a possibility that could be the case. But anyways, I'll change the question slightly and say speculating that there will be a large crossover event. I think it would definitely have time travel as like would be a really easy way, I think, to do it, or some it would make sense.
Well, definitely, because obviously, as we've said earlier on, like a lot of these are in different years, so definitely I think time travel would be the best way to do it. And then I'm trying to think of like I remember a comic I read years ago that featured the Davidians bringing the TOS crew and the TNG crew together, for reasons. I can't even remember what the issue was, but it was just good crack. Now, obviously, we have potentially an issue with the Discovery crew because they're so far in the future. Like, do they come back? Do we go forward?
Yeah, it's true. I think Discovery should have the episode should be within Discovery because they're like the flagship in a way. It was the first one to bring Star Trek back to TV. So
sure,
whatever happens might happen on Discovery, in which case they would be like set up to do it easily because even though there's these laws against the temporal stuff, they've pretty much mastered temporal stuff by the 32nd century. They just don't use that technology, right? Like, but so it would be the easiest way to do it where it's like the least dangerous, I suppose,
Okay, so hear me out. Okay?
Oh, I inspired something.
Okay, so all of a sudden, there's Synthulu. He comes back and he starts, attacking our reality or like their universe, and this is in the Discovery time. And so the Discovery, they kind of like what's going on, what is this thing? They look up data and they look up like information, and they find out in the archives that our crew from Picard were like the first people that actually encountered this thing. So they have to find a way to go and get like the Picard people to cross over and come to their time.
I don't even think it's going to be that because they kind of like I think they're done with the Synthulu thing. But also, do you guys notice how there's like no mention of synths at all in the 32nd century?
That's a good point.
There's hollows, but we haven't. Not only are the Klingons suspiciously absent, but we haven't met another synthetic life form, which is really odd to me.
You think the Tribbles waged war against the Klingons and synths?
And
they won.
Or even better, the Tribbles entered into this like vast alliance with all of the synths, destroyed all the Klingons, and then turned on them.
I can see this. Every single like synth, every single like robot or android has like a Tribble leader on their head.
a Tribble leader on their head, like
that eventually, turned on them.
Okay, there's your Lower Decks story right there.
Oh my god, that is. If this turns up in seasons 3 or 4 of Lower Decks, Mike McMahon, we'll know you were listening to this.
It's true.
Well, but we ask for nothing. It's fine, just do it.
We'll just be satisfied. but yeah, so there's no synths or anything. So I find that suspicious that we haven't met a synthetic life form. Maybe we haven't. It's just not a big deal. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's Discovery. At any point, they could reveal anything. Like maybe they could be like, Kovic, he's a robot.
I would love it actually if Kovic is a synthetic life form, but he doesn't seem to be. But he might be. Who knows? He's pretty smart and crazy and interesting.
The Federation president. She's a robot.
on top of being part Cardassian, part Bajoran, part human, and part synth.
Actually, Gray.
Well, so yes.
Course.
Gray is a synth, that is correct, but that's the only mention. They're talking about the same, and they talked about how that technology of what he's the same as Picard, which I like that, by the way. It's a cool little lineage thing, but apparently it wasn't a successful, only Jean-Luc and maybe a couple others were successful, but because it was not a successful technology, they kind of abandoned it, but it worked out with Gray because it said he'd already, Culber says something like Gray's consciousness already... we already have a success rate with it, like finding and being able to be recognized by electronic means. When they did when he realized himself in the holodeck on the Kelpian ship.
Was it ever addressed? And I should have really checked this, but like in theory, could they do that with any former host of a Trill? Like, could Duran be rocking around in a synth body somewhere? Or bring back Jadzia.
Yeah, I love that. So I think Gray is unique in that sense, but I don't know because that's a really good question, but they left it vague enough, which is a smart thing to do, that like it leaves the door open, I think, for the future. But my impression was that there's something unique about Gray's situation, and it might have to do with the Dira being a human host.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but then again, it could play into it because from what I understand, like Discovery has set up, if I remember correctly, that they have very few hosts as it stands on Trill.
Right.
That like
Yeah.
they're struggling with like hosts,
Compatible hosts.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe they could play into that somehow. If we ever go back to Trill and explore that, I don't know like where Discovery's going with the whole Trill and Gray. If they just abandon that, and
That's
don't
one
know.
thing actually this season. Now I'm sure because they still have 3 episodes to go. So I know, for example, having seen a trailer, that Tilly will be in at least one episode coming up. But there's kind of like a couple of storylines that just kind of went, "Oh, are we done with that now? All right then." For example, Tilly's big exit. It's like, and I guess she's in Starfleet Academy now, and I guess Gray's off the ship now. Okie dokie.
Yeah, they've done that a lot because even Bryce kind of in the beginning of the season, he's talking to Lieutenant Christopher, and he's like, I've been manning your station or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I was consulting on another ship. So Bryce is kind of hopping around too, and then also he exits in the last episode too.
He left, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, well, but I don't know if he's coming back or not because it wasn't. I think he is coming back, but he's working on this special project. So I kind of like that. I've always kind of like, it wasn't a serious complaint because I love the format and I love my, Magnificent Seven cast members that we always see, right? But I think Discovery's doing Starfleet and also just like life in general in the most realistic way I've seen, because people do that all the time. They leave and come and go, and like some people don't stay on the same ship necessarily or in the same position in real life, for 7, 10, 20 years, like what happened with Kirk and crew is the rarity that all 7 of them, and they're all captains, by the way, by the end of it, right? Like,
no one outranks anybody else.
Yeah, no
you
one
can't tell me what to do.
It's like, a ship full of captains and commanders, right? Like, it's just like as the lead officer. So yeah, like that's a rare thing, and I like Discovery's handling of it, even though I am attached to the characters. Like, I definitely want more Tilly. I miss her actually, which is a sign of how good Mae Wise her presence is on screen. But also, I'm not complaining because this is pretty legit. Like, that's how kind of real life is, and I kind of like that Disco's tackling it.
To illustrate that, actually, like there's an example in my real life, in the sense that I've been an assistant manager for for under a year there. And by the time I was, I guess, good enough or experienced enough to be a manager, it was very quick. It was like, okay, 3 weeks later, like, we're shipping you off to like another store.
You're such a Mary Sue, Seán.
I wish that were true.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry, I had to get that a little jab.
No, but my point is like they don't keep 5 captains on the same ship. My point is, once they had 2 people that were capable of being managers, well, I got shipped off to another place.
Yeah, you got a new assignment, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's also like the capacity then to cripple Starfleet by destroying the ship with all the captains on it.
The one ship, yeah.
That makes it a very tempting target.
No wonder everyone was always after the Enterprise.
I mean, if you're fighting the Packlids, it's fine though, because you could just send a ship with no one on it, or it's just dummies, just dummies, but you dress them up as captains.
Janeway.
This is the captain's ship.
Another Enterprise.
Oh man.
I hope they never attempt time travel. The Packlids.
Oh god, that would be...
Oh, can you imagine how much damage that would do?
They'd disperse all over.
Oh my god, there's another Lower Decks like the Packlids.
Oh, all of us, like the episode begins, but everything is just so confusing. Nothing works. No one knows how to speak properly. The whole, like, every item is just used in the wrong way. It's like, what happened though? The Packlids must have missed the time.
Just like the capacity for the damage that they would do.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Or it's like a butterfly effect, that they go back and do something so stupid that it ends up creating the Borg. They plugged something into the wrong socket.
Imagine the state of the fandom if the Packlids created the Borg. The fandom would be in disarray.
I love it.
All right, time travel.
Oh yeah, that thing.
That thing that we were talking about.
I don't know if we hit the as I feel like I don't know if we hit the topic so far. I don't know what your audience is going to think, but I think this has been a smashing good time as far as just talking and
Well, this is
laughing.
usually what happens in these discussions anyway. We have like a topic, we kind of talk about it, then we just go off, but we have a good time. And the audience doesn't seem to complain, so it's fine. They're good with it. I did want to say a little something though. I wanted to talk about Terry Matlas, and how
Is that how you say it?
I
always thought it's
I don't-
Metalis.
maybe it's Metalis. I don't know. Terry, our boy Terry.
Terry.
He worked on 12 Monkeys, which was inspired, like, by the movie,
By the film.
and the film, the original French black and white film from I don't know how long ago, 1901 or some shit.
Wait. I never knew that 12 Monkeys, the Terry Gilliam film, was based on like an older French film. Wow.
1962.
I also did not know this.
Oh.
It's in 1962. It's barely even a film. It's like it's a style. It's actually stills.
Huh.
It's just photos.
And it's
only
called 12
like
Monkeys. How do you say 12
no.
Monkeys in French?
It's called La Jetée. It's not called 12 Monkeys. It has nothing.
What
to do
does
with
La
12 Monkeys.
Jetée mean?
La Jetée is I don't even know how to say that. It's well, what he's describing is like the place where the plane is at the airport.
Like
the terminal, maybe?
The terminal, right?
La Jetée could also be the pier, I guess, for the boat, like but anyway, so
fascinating.
that it's like a very experimental film about a guy that's time traveling, and he's time traveling through periods of time and what have you. And it's very much like the film in the sense that like well, I don't know if I should spoil the end of this thing from 1962, but anyway, like he sees a man, etc., and he finds out he sees a kid or whatever it is, and he figures out that he's looking at himself,
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's kind of in 12 Monkeys, I think.
Yeah, that's the big climax at the end of 12 Monkeys is that. And so I find it interesting that La Jetée is one of the oldest time travel films that I can really think of, and I know I haven't been around that long, but it's really one of the first things that I've seen illustrate time travel on screen, especially in such like a precise way. And so he was influenced by that to make his TV show, and now he's taking care of, I guess, what we could consider the time travel season, or it seems like it's building up to be the time travel season of Star Trek, or at least of Picard. So I guess I'm interested. I'm not as hesitant as I would have been if it was, say, someone else, like if it were the Discovery team saying we're going to do a full time travel season or time travel show like Section 31. I would be a little more hesitant than I am with this.
I wonder as well, because in the interview that Akiva Goldsman gave recently, he said he still hasn't given up hope for this anthology idea, the one that I know they talked about it when Discovery was first going into production. Or even, I mean, it would make for great short treks as well.
Yeah.
I really hope short treks aren't dead.
I know, me too. I always say this, but Seán is convinced that their time has passed because they no longer have purpose. Before it was to keep subscribers in between seasons of like Discovery, but now we have like 5 shows. So
well, the only value that a short treks would have would be like artistic, but I don't think that is. And I know that sounds.
May Star Trek become so real life abundant in resources that they can do these kind of crazy artistic things.
Because like the whole thing about Picard being the only one that was managed to really that was the only successful thing. Like you could have Cronenberg, considering he's now involved with Star Trek, he could do a short treks, like a horror short treks with body horror, with people trying to blend into like their own golems, but it's not working right.
Oh Jesus!
But that would be cool.
The first ever Star Trek, because I know there is a mature audience warning on Discovery, but like this is like no, this is absolutely 18s and above level Star Trek.
Well, the Discovery already is, though. They did mangle the bodies and decapitated
Discovery
babies.
Changed its.
That's true.
Discovery has changed its tone after season 3.
They did.
I feel like they did. They 100% went from adult to more of a general audience vibe. But Picard is, according to Alex Kurtzman, the adult show on Star Trek. So I feel like that's where they're taking that like more that approach. I hope. I hope I hope we see some wild adult things out of Picard. No, I'm just kidding. Actually,
As
not
long
kidding.
as it's not eye violence.
What's that? Yeah. Hey, eye violence is here to stay. It's a part of new Star Trek. I feel like you're gonna have to
Really?
just like you're gonna have to deal with it. It's in like every iteration.
It's the signature move now. We used to have like the Kirk double fist there. Now it's just the eye violence.
Oh God, yeah, that image is not leaving my head anytime soon. Much like his eye did. But
Oh my goodness.
But Terry Matalas seems to have a good handle on. I've not seen the series of 12 Monkeys, but from what I hear, everyone really loves it and that it does a good job. So yeah, I'm excited that he's returning to Star Trek. Wasn't he on? He was on Voyager, right? Or was he? He was a character. He had a one role
Oh
thing
yeah,
on.
he had
And you
a
also worked as a production. He's like he grew up on those old Star Trek
oh, that's
sets or
right.
whatever, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's a returning alumnus.
and he's brought back all our friends.
Yeah,
True.
Our friends. I like that.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about Doug Drexler and
Yeah, he's brought back
the
a lot of
Okudas.
legacy, if
Yeah.
you will. Excuse the the term legacy production teams, which is cool.
I
Production.
can't wait till we see the full reveal of the Stargazer. I'm really excited.
I know, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You see the MSD really briefly in this in that little clip that they showed. So I tried to take a look at it, so I have a little bit of an idea of what she's gonna look like. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you guys think it's going to be full on time travel, or do you guys think it's just going to be some sort of like Q, tapestry kind of thing?
I don't know, because they're making such a point of saying time is broken.
Okay.
So I think, obviously there will be time travel, but I wonder if it'll be as straightforward as, well, we're back in LA now and Seven's driving a car and it's all a bit mental, or if we're going to maybe hop around.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I think that I think I think there's a couple elements, but again, we're in speculation mode here, but I haven't seen it. I haven't like everyone. There's a few people who've seen like the first 3 episodes, but I haven't seen any episodes yet.
Oh, really?
But based on what I'm seeing in the trailers, it looks like they're having to time travel into the past, and then Q will come into play probably similarly to All Good Things, and somehow either put a cog in the works or help, or both, which he likes to do often, where he's putting a cog in the works but it helps you know what I mean. So I think Q will somehow come into play to challenge Picard, because maybe what Picard thinks is going on isn't what's going on, and Q has to help him out. But that's just a general vibe I get. But who knows what's really going on. But I do think it's going to be a big fat not a reset button, but a nice neat resolution at the end. I don't think it's going to carry on into season 3 of Picard.
That's a good point, actually, because again, that same interview with Goldsman, they were saying that there's a different theme to season 3. So season 1, I think, was about looking back. I'm garbling the interview now, but then season 2, he said the theme is heart. And then season 3, they said they're going for something bigger.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Obviously, that could mean anything.
Yeah.
But bring us Worf. Bring us Worf on the Enterprise F. Explain where the Klingons are.
Our buddy Starfleet boy here, he wants the finale to be Picard and Beverly walking down the aisle.
Well, I don't know if I want to go that far, but I definitely want Beverly to return, and I definitely would love to see some kind of
resolution to that,
resolution or a catch up, or let's just see, because I don't think
an acknowledgement of their relationship in the past.
Yeah, whatever happened, between them, because who knows, maybe it played out. We don't really know much about that 20 years between Nemesis and here, except for the big plot stuff, but we learned about the Troy Rikers and that was interesting. So I hope we get a similar kind of vibe with the other, and of course Data. We got Data, so I hope we get a similar kind of vibe. My speculation is that we will definitely see Geordi this season. I think all of that.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we're definitely going to see Geordi this season. So we got Guinan and Geordi, and I think maybe who's left? We got Riker, Troy. We got
Wesley.
We had Riker and Troy and
Wesley.
Data.
Bring me Sela.
And maybe Wesley. I have ideas for Star Trek Pasteur. I think when this is something that me and my friend like created. Like after TNG ended, we were kind of depressed, so we actually sat down. We would sit down together like for weeks on end, and we created like a whole season 1 outline and Bible and template, and like created a whole show called Star Trek
still never
Pasteur.
sent that to me. I need to read that at some point.
Yeah. Well, now there's a Star Trek Pasteur. In 2019, I created a Star Trek Pasteur Twitter account, and so now I started by tweeting the synopsis for episode 1 for season 1. So if you want to go check that out, there's a little promo. So if you want to go check out what my idea for Star Trek Pasteur would have been, follow the Star Trek Pasteur Twitter account.
I love this. This is playing the long game.
Is it a time traveling medical ship?
No, but I will just say that like back in 1990, whatever, when we first created this, we were so ahead of our time because we had a Deltan who was bisexual, the first bisexual character. The ship had 4 warp cores because you can't have any interruption of power in surgery, even if it's in a battle situation. So we had like quadruple redundancies. She was a great like ship. And our setting, this is before Nemesis or any of the movies came out, so our setting was in a kind of a crumbling federation that didn't have a so at the same time while she's going around doing the ship's going around doing these humanitarian things, they also have to face diplomatic crises because people are losing faith in the Federation. So it was a wild show for its time. The concept was, we were like, let's take everything Berman didn't do and do it in our show.
It's the glory we never got.
It's the glory we never got, exactly.
And you were able to, obviously, you looked ahead and you saw that, because the Picard version of Starfleet is a little less rosy than, say, the TNG one was. So, yes, we're ahead of your time.
I feel like this is probably a topic for another time, but I feel like subconsciously, like TNG started to give us hints of that. I feel like we had enough bad morals in TNG that I was like, oh, what's up with the Federation?
Well, actually, I think Deep Space Nine probably helped, reinforce that the idea of, I'm not going to say full on corruption in Star Trek, but the whole concept of Section 31 being more explored, and
well, look, I mean, Star Trek reflects
the Maquis.
And Star Trek reflects real life, and in a way, it's a commentary on, the Federation can just kind of like be lumped into like the great kind of like governments of the world, and like we've had this like nonstop sustained kind of like warfare for so long that it takes its toll on society, and like these once great institutions start to lose their kind of meaning and stuff like that. So I think it's crazy how relevant the Bell riots in and of themselves. I mean, we have sanctuary districts, sanctuary cities. Like it's pretty eerie how close Star Trek is getting things, and now at the time of this recording, like many of us are uncertain if we're going to be going into another huge conflict, like people are calling the events going on right now like potentially the start of a World War III. So yeah, I don't know, Star Trek's eerie that way.
Yeah.
This podcast, if someone listens to this full podcast in 45 years or something,
if you manage to stay this far listening,
but not just this episode. I mean, it begins in a time where we're talking about like pandemics and what have you, and now you're talking about World War III. There, it's like, goddamn. Anyway, I hope everything works out for the best. It all ends positively, and this podcast, among all the others in the world, can carry on and be listened to by people that are alive and happy.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, indeed. or
Otherwise, we'll have to fix it with time travel.
We'll have to fix it with time travel.
Otherwise, we'll have to go back and fix it.
There we go. Now everyone listening to this knows that we actually saved history. uh, But yeah, I'm super hyped for the Star Trek that's coming up. And then I'm sure Strange New Worlds will also add its mix to this time travel shenanigans as well. It feels like it's ripe for that kind of stuff.
I'm not convinced Strange New Worlds is going to do time travel at the moment. At least not in season 1. I think they're going to do smaller, more self-contained little stories. They might.
Oh yeah, no, I just mean in its overall run. I feel like it's at this point it's a thing. Again, we just cited that pretty much every series except Lower Decks has had time travel shenanigans in it one way or another. So,
but if they are going to do time travel in Strange New Worlds, I want them to basically do season 5 of Enterprise. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, yes, I agree. I concur. Archer and Pike, what a crazy combination that would be.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Actually, now that okay, fine, we'll end it, but we'll end it with one little question for you guys, and this isn't. I guess it's time travel adjacent. Now that we live in an era, and I won't get into specifics as to not spoil other current shows, but now that we are in an era of deep faking and de-aging and all of that, if we were to start exploring like times that we've already seen before in Star Trek and other shows, do you guys want them to recast like they did with Ethan Peck, or would you guys be okay with like digitally de-aging actors if it's for like 1 or 2 episodes? You can't do that for like a full season, of course, but
it's good.
How do you
question.
Guys feel about that? If you bring an Archer into Strange New Worlds for like the finale or something, do you de-age him?
I think for now that technology, I thought it was the best I've ever seen it in the latest. I won't say the spoiler, but in the latest. In the Book of Boba Fett season, the technology was employed, I think, the best I've ever seen it. However, I think it only works as like for example, I could see that technology being used with like Pike passing off the torch to Kirk, and then you have the the William Shatner of that. You de-age William Shatner. Maybe he could reprise the role somehow, like Mark Hamill did in Mandalorian, or I don't know, something like that.
With his voice.
Yeah, with his voice, and they augment it or whatever. But so I could see it work. I mean, William Shatner's voice sounds so different from when he was younger, but he would at least consult or be there to with mannerisms and gestures and all that stuff. But I would say that like for me, it's not there where you can have like a full-time guest character or like even longer than a couple of scenes yet. So if you're gonna have a character that comes into play that's gonna be there for like more than an episode or more than a guest thing, just recast the character. But that being said, with the season 5 of Enterprise thing, I think it should just be all of the actors reprising their roles, and they're older. It just moves forward in time. Like I don't think it should be a go back right after season 4 type of deal. I think it should be season 5 should take place with a time jump of its own.
And would you time travel trip back into existence there?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I mean, like, or not even time travel him. Just establish that he never actually died. It was just that was like Riker. That was history. It was just like how Discovery blew up, right? According to history recorded it as being this way, but something else actually happened, which is with Section 31 or whatever you want to say. But just show that like the historic records. The
programmer took some creative liberties there.
The Holo program was just following the history, which was what was not the classified stuff. You know what I mean? So Riker.
And I mean, technically, we didn't see him flatline. They just put him in the cupboard.
That's true. They put him in the cupboard. It's true, and he does do that weird. He does give that suspicious that wink. Everyone talks about the wink, right? Like he gives like a suspicious wink before he takes the hit. So
he was actually signing that he's actually just another sim.
Oh my goodness!
That episode broke my heart.
Oh my good
to
lord!
Me, everyone talks about Tuvix, but Sim. No one get justice for Sim, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would stand by Sim before I would stand by
Stand by
Tuvix.
Tuvix.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so yeah, that's my thing. I would love to see. I love that idea, Sean, you know, somehow Strange New Worlds gives Enterprise a nice little thing. I also think Discovery has the opportunity. They drop a lot of references to Enterprise, so who knows? Like, you know, maybe they'll make that future Archer thing come into play at some point, which would be really interesting.
All right. On that note, thank you guys so much for joining me. It was a pleasure having you guys on. Do you guys have anything to promote? Anything to talk about? So
I just have Starfleet Boy, so check out Starfleet Boy. You can just Google Starfleet Boy, and most of my stuff, my shit, comes up. Right now, the only thing for my channel is on Saturdays we do a TOS discussion at 3 p.m. Eastern time. On Thursdays we're covering Discovery. When Picard comes out, we're going to be doing Picard discussions on Sundays at probably around 2 p.m. Eastern time.
So hopefully I can maybe start joining some of them.
Yeah, and you guys are both welcome to join our discussions. We have a casual and informal format, much like this podcast, of just, you know, gathering around and talking about the latest episode of Star Trek, whatever it is. Past,
sounds really
present,
cool.
future, yeah.
Well, you can find me, Google Trek Culture. You can find me there, either Twitter or on YouTube either. And there's also the Clone Star podcast I host with my co-host Show, and we are going through every season of Star Trek ever. We're
Hot damn.
I think recording TNG season 7 later on today, I think.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's been really fun.
So do you do like a whole season discussion, or are you doing each episode in the seasons?
So each episode we pick 5 episodes from the relevant season, and we kind of discuss it in that, and then how it fits into the greater season as well.
Oh, cool. So, very cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. But half the fun has been like, how do we keep this under 7 hours? But we seem to be managing it so far. So that's the Clone Star Pod. You can follow that on Twitter, and it's on various platforms.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for tuning in. Hopefully, our future will all be bright. And hopefully the future of Star Trek will remain bright. And I trust in Terry to deliver some good time travel.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.